It was a spectacular media circus, quickly reaching a fever pitch. And of course, theories about what happened to her emerged. Did she suffer from amnesia? Was she somehow taking revenge on someone who had slighted her? Even contemplating that she did this. She staged her own disappearance as a publicity stunt to boost book sales. Now, I ask you, as if Agatha Christie, even at that time, needed to boost the sales of her murder mysteries. I don't think so. Of course, suspicion immediately fell on Archibald Christie, the husband, as well as some other ones, some other people. But my question to you first is, where is she?
She's in a hotel.
Why do you say that?
Because she'd want to go somewhere, use a different name. If someone attempted something on her, I'd want to disappear so that I felt safe, so I could regroup. And so I would say there is a good chance she ditched her own car and just on foot or by another passerby, she would have gone to a hotel. And then that's easy enough to use a different name. It's not as though they asked you for ID.
Okay, go ahead.
And I'd want to point my finger at my husband.
This is interesting. Your triggering event is something that I've never contemplated, and I don't know if others have contemplated it. Your triggering event, you're saying that possibly Agatha was fleeing from Archie and possibly a mistress for fear for her life, or what?
Fear maybe in the fact that he could literally clean her out if she couldn't do something that would show he's not of sound moral standards.
Okay. This is more complicated than I ever thought. For number 12, if you would look at, it's Agatha and Max, a little bit later in life, looking to me like a very contented, loving couple. What do you think?
Absolutely. That's the kind of energy where they're sharing things. They're linked. So yeah, this is a really good energy.
Okay, that's nice to hear. And what is Max's aura like?
It blends nicely with hers. It touches each other. And I would say that he's got a lot of blue heart energy around him.
Blue heart. Blue means heart.
Yeah.
Oh, and has she still got the white, mysterious stuff?
And they're just linking in together to each other.
Oh, that's lovely. Oh, neat. Certainly just from this black and white pic of the two of them looking, it looks, I guess, photographs perhaps from an archaeological dig or something. They're both focusing on the photographs, but they're so seemingly content beside one
another.
Even I can understand I don't see any energy, but I can have a sense of a feel of comfort and love between them, which is just wonderful to know that she was loved in the end, better than she was ever loved by Archie. And
absolutely.
Relationship. That's cool.
Welcome to Seeing Dead People, the slow burn storytelling podcast where our host Nicola challenges her psychic friend Darcy to communicate with the dead and unravel historical ghost stories, unsolved true crime mysteries, and all things paranormal. If you want to be spooked, amazed, and entertained, stick around for an astonishing, deep dive convo with the spirits on the other side. Radio Sydney presents Seeing Dead People, Episode 44, Agatha Christie's Greatest Mystery. Psychic investigates famous author's disappearance.
Hey, good morning, Darcy. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Nicola?
I'm peachy, Darcy. It's a nice misty day today, which I think just suits the fact that we're going to talk about a mystery this morning. And so I'm looking forward to that. I'm always looking forward to chatting to you. I'm just going to give you one line, and then I'm going to ask you what you're thinking about. Today, we're going to examine an astounding historical mystery where real life literally echoes fiction. But before we go anywhere, I've learned my lesson. Now I'm going to ask you, are you getting any insight, any tinglings about today's subject matter?
The really good part, other than the mist that's outside, it made me think what a great day to sit down and read a murder mystery. And I only have Well, other than unknown authors, I
Right.
have only two authors that I actually read for murder mysteries.
Oh, okay.
James Patterson
Yep.
and Agatha Christie, who I have read my entire life.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. I'm delighted to hear that. And I agree with you. Today is a perfect day to sit and read a murder mystery. And so
Absolutely.
it's going to suit us because today we're going to talk exactly about a mystery. Okay.
All right.
Do you have any sense that one of your two favorite authors is somebody we might be talking about? I might as well put that out.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go with the female mainly because I watched her last night. I watched her on TV.
What did you see?
I actually, for the very first time, watched Murder on the Orient Express.
The new one with Kenneth Branagh?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. What did you think?
It was cute.
Yeah.
I love his mustache.
Yeah, serious mustache, eh? Wow. Yeah. Okay. You're right in that we are, at least in our favorite Seeing Dead People location for all things mysterious. We're in jolly old England today. But before I narrow you down to the date and geography, I'm going to ask you to look at some photographs of our lead person. And as you presumed, it is a female. Okay. I want you to see her in different life stages because allowing you a chance to see her is going to, I hope, give you insight into her person and her personality, which will be essential to investigating our bizarre events that are central to our story today.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to try not to spill her name for as long as I can, Darcy. But if history serves, you'll reveal it long before I plan to. So in the meantime, I'm going to call our lead character, our subject today, Mary. So first up, if you look at photo number 1, is a picture when she was taken as a young child.
Okay, just one sec.
Yeah, I should have asked, did you get the photos?
I did. I just haven't opened them.
Okay.
Oh, she's so cute. Look at all that hair. I'm jealous.
Yeah, look at all that hair. Yes. So this photo is our young gal, taken about late 1890s. What do you think of her?
To me, even at this age, she's very mysterious.
Oh.
There's something around her aura that says she probably has deep thoughts and very intelligent. I'm guessing she's probably between 8 and 10 there.
I would say you're almost exactly right. Exactly.
Okay. And she just looks like there's so much knowledge hidden behind those eyes.
Wow. I would agree with you. She has a very soulful look, I think. But when you mentioned her aura, can you describe that a little bit to us? What do you mean by that?
Okay, we all have this energy source around us, and it fluctuates depending on if we're happy, sad, if we've got an illness on us, that it changes the colors around us. Think of the colors of the rainbow, okay? And those colors will change. And hers, there's this white energy, and then it spikes in different areas that sort of goes into the void, which to me means someone very mysterious, maybe even a little intuitive.
Oh, okay. And when you say white, so her colors of the rainbow are, her aura is a white aura?
Yeah, which is a higher aura, which could also mean that she may have come down in life from another, may not be her first lifetime on Earth.
Oh, okay. Oh, I heard that. So she could possibly have lived and been reincarnated, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. And she seems to hold everything inside.
Okay. She's really doe-eyed, in my opinion. She's got a long oval face. She has greatness in her future, Darcy. She will be one of the most famous women in the last 100 years, and I believe she'll remain famous for all time. So does that give you any more hints as to who she might be?
I know she's not Emily Earhart. Okay. She's famous. I'm going to have to go with Agatha Christie since I brought her name up as one of my favorite authors.
God, yes. You had nailed her earlier, but I was not going to allow you that because we just discussed in general what a misty day would bring mind to you. But yes, we are talking about Agatha Christie. I was going to call her Mary. That's her second name. So yes, we are going to talk about Agatha Christie today. Let's check in about a decade later, Darcy, at about 1910. Let's have a look at her at age about 20 now. What do you think of Agatha Christie, although she's not Agatha Christie at this time, What do you think of her now?
Wow. If you hadn't said it was a girl, I was going to say, look, she's sporting one of those hairdos that we see nowadays. Very strong, determined, and a lot of masculine energy around her at this age.
Oh, interesting. So you hadn't noticed that previously?
No, very young, secure, feminine, but here she must be struggling here to get herself known. So she wants to me, stand out a little bit.
Okay.
To have that energy, the distinction. Because when you look at her, I don't see the same femininity as I did when she was younger.
Oh, that's a very interesting comment. I would agree with you. She's peering out this very fancy window. She's got her hair up and she is wearing a tight, high collared shirt. So a little stiffer, as you say, perhaps a little more masculine, a little more held in. I'm not sure, but she's got a heck of a lot of hair, but she's got that now under control.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she could have some masculine energy. I think I would agree with you. Okay, let's move a couple of years ahead to photo number 3 to get a better sense of her personality. Also to get an idea of an interest of hers that becomes central to her life. Have a look at this photograph. It's not a great photograph, unfortunately. It's got a bit of light issues going on there, but what do you see with Agatha now?
So is Eastern culture part of her destiny? India, that type of thing?
No, but that's an interesting comment. What I'm going to reveal to you is that at the moment she's wearing a costume. She's playing a role in a local play.
Okay. Here, I would have called her either Mary or Anne. Now
Okay.
I've got the female energy again. Again, maybe it's a costume that's doing it, but she reminds me a little of one of the the Boleyn sisters, the ones that heard the knocking and became quite famous for being intuitive.
Oh, I don't know what their name is.
Boyle?
Boleyn?
Yeah, I can't remember their name, but
they were like a pair of psychics.
Yes.
Psychics idea, and they would knock the table and everything. That's a time frame too.
Yep. And okay. I definitely Asian connection for her. So again, maybe part of a past life. And here, compared to the picture you showed me to here, it's like, again, back to that really feminine energy, that very mild, but I still feel underneath her, there's this determination to succeed.
Okay, good. You're right. Those two pictures really indicate a very different personalities, it seems to me. As you say, this one's much more feminine and much more demure. The other one seemed to me yearning for a future, but quite confident.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So the plot thickens, as we say, with the introduction of our next lead character. I was going to call him AC, but now we've revealed it's Agatha Christie. Funnily enough, this fellow's name is Art.
He's definitely handsome for his time frame. Mm-hmm. And you did say military, right?
Yeah, this is a pre-war, like 1914 kind of idea.
Okay.
Outfit, military guy. Yep.
I would say, to me, he's soft. I don't feel... Okay, I don't know how to describe it. When I look at the two of them, so this is Agatha Christie and her future husband?
Correct.
Okay, and so when I look at them, they actually look like they could support each other through life emotionally. Okay, but to me, he's more the person who wants to watch the world go around, where she wants to be involved in the world.
Okay. He's an observer and she's more active.
She's a participant and he's thank you. Observer is a very good word for him.
Oh, okay. Probably, as you can guess, these two lead characters fall in love and marry on Christmas Eve of all days in 1914. Of course, this is just the beginning of the First World War. The newlyweds, who are almost the same age, had only a few days of wedded bliss until Archie, as he's known, returned to duty with the Royal Flying Corps. So here's a shot, the next one, in photo number 5, Darcy, which is reputed to be their wedding photograph. What do you think of our attractive young couple in this photo, Darcy?
That's the one where he's in by himself?
No, number 5, where they're sitting, he's sitting on a chair and she's standing beside him.
Oh,
5.
okay. To me, they make a very striking couple. And like I said, even though he may be going off to war, he'd rather be at home.
I don't blame him there.
Okay. But the thing is that she seems to be the one that's going to make the future. He's the one who is there to watch what happens. So you're observer. She's definitely the person who's making the future. I don't know if he actually collaborates with her on a couple of things, but I think she actually uses him as one of the main characters.
Oh, okay. While Archie returns to the war and distinguishes himself fighting for the British Empire, our gal Agatha is involved in the war effort at home, working as a nurse and then as an assistant pharmacist. 4 years go by. Finally, Archie comes back. He's demobbed and he returns with the rank of colonel, which is pretty impressive. And the young couple begin an actual married life in London in the fall of 1918. Now, before I continue, I just want to make a comment here, and I want to know your opinion. I know a brief marriage during the war and then immediate separation of the couple wasn't unusual, happened all the time. But still, I'm just trying to imagine how much Agatha and Archie must have changed during those many months apart, especially considering the trauma both would have experienced in the First World War. So surely Archie returned a changed man, Darcy, and Mary perhaps now a different woman, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. If they hadn't changed, I'd wonder, mind you, if they hadn't changed, then their personalities and their beliefs were standing in place. But I would say he may came back, instead of that soft man I saw, he probably came back a little harder, maybe not as gullible. But I still think for them that whatever they experienced at the beginning would still be there. Because it's still that mystery. They got married, it's a bit of a mystery, and I'm certain they may have had time together throughout the war. Sometimes people higher up got to come home, but I feel like there's still this connection between the two of them, because after he gets back, don't they have a child?
Exactly. I was going to say, it must have been tough to be reunited and to develop a relationship again with each other and get to know one another again. But they were successful, at least for a while, because she did give birth to their only child, a girl named Rosalind, in the next year. So have a look at, speaking of Rosalind, have a look at our next photo, number 6. And you will see it's taken a few years later. Obviously, the child is a bit older, but it's a shot of Agatha and her daughter, Rosalind. What do you think of this pair of gals?
They are definitely mother and daughter. No, about it. And see, still looking at Agatha, she has those, as you called them, doe eyes, but I feel sorrowful eyes.
Yes.
They're seeing the world so different. Can I ask, did they actually, her and her husband, split up?
That will come, yes.
Okay, because here I would have said she's on her own just with her daughter.
Okay, that's 1926, and this is becoming the crucial year, shall we say. Okay. So while they continued their lives together and raised a daughter, Archie continued to work in London, and Agatha continued her long hobby now of interest that she'd been working on forever, writing fictional stories. Finally, after many false starts and publisher rejections, her first novel was released in 1920, introducing us to the unusual and brilliant lead character known for his little gray cells, whom you just saw last night, and the large mustache. He became, of course, Agatha Christie's famous Hercule Poirot. So now we know we're talking about Agatha Christie. We now know she's becoming famous. With this novel being published and subsequent novels to that, she becomes, of course, very famous. We're now going to come close to what our main event is, Darcy. But before we do, I want you to see one more photograph of this young couple, which is a group photo, and it includes our 2 young married couple. So it's photograph number 7, black and white shot of a group. And we're focusing on Archie on the left, sitting on the couch with another gentleman reading a newspaper, Agatha on the far right, peering in with another fellow reading a newspaper, possibly, I don't know, a storyline about Agatha, a storyline about something that interests them all. But that's the shot we have. What do you think of that?
Okay. One would have thought her husband would be behind her, looking over her shoulder to see what was going on.
I thought that too. Interesting.
Okay. Is that her dad?
I don't know, Darcy. I don't think so. I think these are friends.
All right. She looks happy. He looks, because you only get the side view of him, but he actually, strangely enough, looks anxious.
I was looking at his posture on the couch. She looks very comfortable, relaxed, her legs are crossed. She's leaning over. She's looking, as you say, intently interested in the paper that whatever their story they're reading. He's a bit, to me, again, his observer perhaps status, a bit further, a bit more stiff in his posture.
Yeah. So I would say the three of them are happy, excited about what they're reading. The other one, just like her husband, I don't really care.
Okay.
Maybe in a way he does, because maybe this makes him less important.
Yes, it would be a bit of I think, a shock to most male vanities to marry someone who becomes, early on in your marriage, more famous and ridiculously more famous than you, making tons and tons of money. And you as the man, and especially in those days in the 1920s, you are supposed to be the one bringing home the bacon, so to speak. And obviously he couldn't possibly compete financially or fame-wise with her. Yeah. It would take a special individual, I think, to handle that.
I don't know if he's capable. You would think that having been in charge, because as colonel, he would be in charge. And maybe that's the problem, is he's used to being here and she's down here even though nurses were loved and everything during that time frame, she's not as important as he is.
Yes, in society, absolutely. Yeah.
But it's funny, because when I look at that picture, what I feel is a couple who's gone from that very first picture of them being together. And you said it, that they didn't know each other, got married. And then he came back and they still didn't know each other. And so to me, when he came back, it was like, part of me wonders if he got married because he didn't have anyone to correspond with while he was gone, and who's going to miss him. Okay. And then when I look at these two, it's like they're so different. They're not, the energy between them doesn't join. Like I like to say to my clients is, when you're married and you're together, your energies join, like your fingers are locked together. But when you're existing inside of a relationship, you evolve around each other, but you never really come together.
Is that sort of two magnets, positives bouncing off one another, or not so dramatic as that?
Not so dramatic. Just think of Saturn. It's the one that has the ring around it, right?
Yes.
Here's the planet and here's the ring. They don't actually collide with each other. They exist, but there's no connection. Okay.
Would you normally then, here's a photograph we're looking at, a black and white shot of three gentlemen sitting and a woman sitting together, a tight shot of that. Would you normally be able to distinguish the aura or those energies of that couple? They're the two outside edges of this, like a book. They're like bookends on this photograph. Would you be able to notice that their energy should somehow meld together, even in a picture like this where they have the energy of the other two men? I presume they have energy as well.
Oh, absolutely. Like I would say, if this is either the gentleman behind her is either a brother, a really close friend, because there's an energy that draws the two of them together. When I look at this, that's why I was wondering if that was her dad, maybe a brother. And then there's this outsider.
Okay, so I don't know who the other two gentlemen are, but you're saying there's a definite gap between the married couple in their energy levels.
Yes, and not just where they're sitting.
Exactly, not just where they're sitting, which happens to be at the opposite ends of the photograph.
Yeah.
Oh, fascinating. Okay. For a while, things seemed to be going along well. Archie was working in London and Agatha hammered out more novels. She was so successful they were able to purchase a large, huge country home in Sunningdale, Berkshire, and all seemed well on the surface. But then in the spring of 1926, something really sad and tragic happened in Agatha's family. Any idea?
Okay. No one died at that time frame, I don't think. But having said it out loud, is Fred her dad?
Honest to goodness, I don't know who her dad is.
Okay. I keep hearing Fred, so I don't know if that's her dad or not. But it's okay. The only way I can say it is I'm missing something or someone. And you froze.
And when you say you're
just that,
missing, what does that mean? I'm just looking as you're talking. I'm going to look up, Agatha.
Okay. It's just that I feel like something or someone is missing. When it's not her daughter.
Okay. No. Okay. The truth of it is her mother passed away.
It is
now,
her mom.
Agatha adored her mom and was incredibly close with her mom. Her mother died in April, and press reports from that time, August, suggest that Agatha fled to France to recuperate from a breakdown, supposedly due to the overwork of being the author, famous author. But I'm sure profound grief played a key role. However, just like the twisty plot of a great mystery novel, we will soon discover there was more to Agatha's hiatus to France than meets the eye. Any idea of what else might have been happening with Agatha in that time frame, Darcy?
Okay, so I need to distinguish here for a minute. So that feeling of missing is her missing her mom.
I presume so, if that's what you're saying, because yes, her mom died in April of 1926, but something else is also happening in Agatha's life.
Okay, I can agree with you with the idea that she had a nervous breakdown because of her mom.
Okay.
I don't think it's our author part that caused her. And if she was as close to her mom as it feels, then yes, I can see the devastation and having to get away from everything and everyone to deal with it.
Okay.
But I don't understand why she'd cut herself off from her daughter, because I feel like her and her daughter have the same kind of relationship. But I don't see her daughter with her. Is that correct? She went without her daughter, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge is I do not know, but I believe, yes, that she didn't. Okay. From what I remember reading, because her daughter was quite young.
And then why isn't she in where they said she went? If she went to some sort of hospital or whatever for recuperation, how come I can't see her inside that area?
I don't know. I can't say to you, I don't know. All I know is that she went to France for some time to recuperate, but what happens next is really the nub of our storyline.
Okay, but she's not there. She seems like she's somewhere else.
Okay, you're probably jumping ahead, as you always do, into the storyline. She comes back from France. I don't know how much longer, some time passes before she comes back in the late 1926. And something happens in that time frame to her, with her, involved in her life, that really precipitates our main event here. Okay. And probably leads to what you're thinking and seeing of her.
Just 1 second, because I feel the English. Do you know if she met someone else? No. It doesn't feel like it's it. But having said it out loud, it does feel like there's someone else in this.
Okay.
It does feel like there's another person involved, and it may be. Is this about the time where the motion pictures started coming about?
No, not yet.
Okay. I was wondering if it was a director. Okay, they use the word director, so this person must be able to help her somehow.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, take a breath, because on December 3rd, 1926, at age 36, nearing the peak of her writing career, Agatha Christie, the world's most famous female writer, vanished.
So she is missing.
She is missing. Exactly. She is missing. So she'd gone to France, recuperated, or spent some time away. We don't know other than her mom passing away, but there was something else very critical happening in her life at that time that caused her to go to France. We will find out about it later, unless you leaned into it beforehand. But she comes back, something else continues, and she disappears. So the morning after December 3rd, her empty car was discovered in Newlands Corner, which is a Surrey nature reserve, jammed into shrubbery at a chalk quarry. In fact, it's been said that the shrubs acted as a barrier, blocking the automobile from pitching and crashing down into the massive quarry pit, saving Agatha's life. Otherwise, she would have perished in the crash into the quarry. Inside the abandoned car lay Agatha's driving license and some clothing. Searchers rushed to a nearby recreational spot called the Silent Pool, fearing she had drowned herself, but her body wasn't found. Now, you can imagine, Darcy, a famous author's disappearance quickly became massive news. The authorities, baffled by her sudden vanishing, launched an intensive and extensive investigation. So at this stage, we'll get into it further, but just initially, Darcy, do you have any sense of what might have happened to Agatha Christie here?
First of all, something I need to say before I forget.
Okay.
With her husband working in London, I'm guessing he also had a mistress, because there's that energy there. As I close my eyes and look at him, are you sure this wasn't something that was contrived by, what was her husband's name?
Archie.
Archie and his mistress to get rid of her?
Now there's a theory. That's a good one. We'll talk about the theories. The initial theories, Agatha's missing from did she commit suicide?
No.
Was she murdered? What happened to her? This captured the attention of the media, of course, and the public. And the newspapers jumped on the bandwagon and fueled speculation, creating sensational headlines, which added to the blockbuster mystery of this whole situation. Even the renowned author Sir Arthur Conan Doyle of Sherlock Holmes fame pitched in to help by taking one of Agatha's gloves to a local medium. Any idea, just out of curiosity, Darcy, whether this medium had any relevant information to where Agatha Christie might be found?
I'm going to say no.
You're right. Unfortunately, this medium is not nearly as talented as you are. Came up with nothing. So the search continues for Agatha Christie. Volunteers, police, aircraft deployed to scour the countryside. More than 1,000 police officers, 15,000 volunteers hot-footed about the rural countryside, accompanied by overhead airplanes. I'm sure you can imagine it was a spectacular media circus, quickly reaching a fever pitch, and of course, theories about what happened to her emerged. Did she suffer from amnesia? Was she somehow taking revenge on someone who had slighted her? Even contemplating that she did this, she staged her own disappearance as a publicity stunt to boost book sales. Now, I ask you, as if Agatha Christie, even at that time, needed to boost the sales of her murder mysteries. I don't think so. Of course, suspicion immediately fell on Archibald Christie, the husband, as well as some other people. But my question to you first is, where is she?
She's in a hotel.
Why do you say that?
Because she'd want to go somewhere, use a different name. If someone attempted something on her, I'd want to disappear so that I felt safe, so I could regroup. And so I would say there is a good chance she ditched her own car, and just on foot or by another passerby, she would have gone to a hotel. And then that's easy enough to use a different name. It's not as though they asked you for ID.
Okay, go ahead.
And I'd want to point my finger at my husband.
This is interesting. Your triggering event is something that I've never contemplated, and I don't know if others have contemplated it. Your triggering event, you're saying that possibly Agatha was fleeing from Archie and possibly a mistress for fear for her life, or what?
Fear maybe in the fact that he could literally clean her out if she couldn't do something that would show he's not a sound moral standards.
Okay. This is more complicated than I ever thought. Okay, let's move on then. Despite this massive woman hunt and the whole of England on the watch for our famous writer, she remained hidden for 11 days until December 14th. On that date, a sharp-eyed employee of what? A hotel called the Swan Hydropathic Hotel in Harrogate, which happens to be 200 miles north of Agatha's country home, recognized one of their guests as the famous missing author, and all heck broke loose. So how do you think Agatha Christie got from this abandoned car in Surrey to this location in the north of England, Harrogate, 200 miles away, without being recognized, or who knows, but how did she do it? Why did she do it?
I don't think it was fear.
Fear. Wow.
Yeah. Fear, maybe fear of losing her sanity, fear of her life, but I'm feeling fear is what did it.
Okay, that's really original. Let's look at photo number 8 to get a sense of the media sensation that went on. You'll see the front page of a local newspaper. Would you review it, obviously, Darcy? And can you read us the 2 paragraphs I've circled in red?
Okay, just one sec.
Yeah, take your time. You could read the entire thing, but I was hoping that for us, maybe you could read it out.
Okay. Mrs. Christie, makes me think of cookies, fawned at Hargate.
Yep.
Dramatic reunion with her husband and famous hydro. Her memory gone. Mm-hmm. How missing novelist spent time while police and public looked at her. Mrs. Christie, the missing inventor of detective stories, was traced last night to the hydro. Oh, it's a hotel. Hargate by her husband, Colonel Christie. In an interview after a dramatic meeting between the pair, Colonel Christie told the Daily Herald that his wife had suffered from the most complete loss of memory. She did not even recognize him, he added. Okay, I wouldn't recognize him either. Looking at his picture.
From him in the bottom right doesn't look like him at all. It must be very old. Yeah. I can see Christie in the one on the left, but I can't see. I can see Agatha on the left, and I can see Christie, the man, on the right. I can't really see him very well. Okay, so she's discovered in this very swanky hotel called the Hydropathic. They had spas and waters and things that you participated in to improve your health. So you now get a chance to get to know our lead character a bit more, Darcy. Why, and you've put out a little bit, but I want you to explore even further. What would have happened to her that would force her to leave her husband, more importantly, her daughter, her extended family, and really the rest of the world, who were fearing for the worst for 11 long days? And let's not forget, she was found. She didn't reveal herself. She was found by this, noticed by this fellow in the hotel. So who knows how much longer she would have remained anonymous without her daughter knowing what was going on. So what could have pushed her to that extent?
If you've ever had a moment where you're panicked so badly that you're in fear of everything, paranoid, everything going around you, and nothing's adding up in your brain. And given that I've seen family and clients where they lose a member of their family that they're so close to. I know one gentleman who got dementia. Okay, it was just that fast because he lost something that held him firm. Okay. And so maybe we could say it was such a severe shock for her to lose her mother and that support she had that she did. Her mental ability to comprehend what's going on around her inside of her life was too much for her to handle. But since she was smart enough to use her husband's mistress last name, hence how he found her, then it makes me feel that she knew enough to hide, but enough that she gave a clue, like in her mysteries, to figure out who or where she was.
So I'm glad I'm sitting down here, because here comes the seeing dead people frisson moment. How did you know that she used the mistress's last name at the hotel?
It was just when they said he had a mistress and Neville. I heard that. Like, I heard actually needle, and I was trying to figure out how to do this. Neville.
Okay.
And it was attached to her. And I would have thought she'd use her mom's first name, Claire, but she didn't. So those were my two choices, her mom's first name or the mistress, because the mistress, it was a way of pointing the finger at the husband.
Wow. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. From the outside world's perspective, there was a belief, and that was pushed by Agatha's family, so to speak, that she had amnesia. Okay. Now, something so severe, it's actually called a fugue state. I don't know if
that is the word I was looking for.
Okay. That's a very rare condition that basically means memory loss caused by some severe stress from a trauma, like being in a car, an accident, or whatever major disaster might happen in your life. What's really neat about fugue state is it's a dissociative amnesia that often includes unexpected travel, okay? Sometimes referred to as bewildered wandering. It also has another element, which is fascinating, that the afflicted person might develop a new identity, okay? Yep. In Agatha's case, she had bewilderedly wandered, if we can call it that, all the way north to Harrogate, and she'd registered at the hotel under the pseudonym of Mrs. Tressa Neal. Now, I want you to look at photo number 9 and have a look at another newspaper front page on that, about this issue, about her being there and being found. Just have a look at the images of the people on the page. Now, we've seen the picture of Mr. Christie, and we've also seen the little photograph of Agatha and her child. The main shot of Agatha herself, does that give you any more information?
Wow. Okay. If you look at the picture of her and her child and that sadness that wraps around her, and you look at her in that photo for the paper, that's like almost two different people, two different energies.
So the one larger shot of Agatha with a full face shot of her on the left, you're saying has a different energy than the shot of the mother and child photograph that we've seen before.
Absolutely.
And what is the energy of this new Agatha that you see?
This new one is more open. Like the other one to me was more introspective, looking at things, but still seeing life. This one is more open, more, I'm going to live life.
Oh, okay. I'm interested. I wonder when that photograph was taken, because it was obviously taken before she disappeared. They've obviously used it to bring it forward onto the newspaper. But, well, as you can imagine, this whole issue, this whole missing of Agatha and then the finding of Agatha really was a head spinner for the public. First, the beloved author goes AWOL and everybody's petrified for her, and they're out searching for her at great cost, which was discussed later. Then she's found days later, seemingly fine, in fact, enjoying the luxuries of a fancy hotel. But she's there using an assumed name and claiming, of all things, memory loss. It's like the plot of a really cheap romantic novel. So was Agatha Christie's disappearance, Darcy, a legitimate case of amnesia, a fugue state, or was it a publicity stunt or something else?
Okay, I'm going to go. There's definitely that there is memory loss here. Okay. I do feel that part of it, though, was to hide away. And there definitely feels that maybe the initiation of it was to get away from everything so I can revamp, rethink, regroup. But somewhere in there, I do see that blackness. And I see a different... But I am, no matter what I say, I'm a little angry at my husband, because I think I've also, between her mom dying, finding out her husband has a mistress, I think it was just too much.
You mentioned something, finding out the husband had a mystery. We have not ourselves in today's discussion actually revealed that until now.
Okay.
That's the sort of triggering event that happened in like August, I believe, which is what pushed her beyond losing her mom off to France. He asked for a divorce.
Okay.
He'd met a friend of the Hares and had fallen in love. Her name was Nancy Neal, the name that Agatha eventually uses at the hotel as her pseudonym. So yes, they have a major argument in December. He's demanding a divorce. She's lost her mother. She's lost her marriage. Those are triggering events that can cause, I would imagine, a fugue state. Let's have a look at the other woman, just for interest's sake. Have a look at photo number 10 and meet Nancy Neal.
She looks like Agatha, only happy.
Oh dear, a happy Agatha. Maybe that's what Archibald was trying to find.
Oh, they're totally different energies.
Okay, tell us about her aura, just out of curiosity, if you see one.
Okay, she's that pink, fluffy cotton candy type of aura. And but she looks, her hairstyle, everything. Look at her clothes are a little more frumpy, I would think, but she looks like Agatha, the younger version.
And the fluffier version.
Yes.
So what attracted Archibald to her over his wife?
Oh, maybe just the fact she's more open.
Okay.
Wait is what you get with Agatha. There wasn't really, it was like a mystery waiting to be unraveled. It's a great way of saying it, considering she's a mystery writer.
Exactly. It's fantastic. What's amazing is that Agatha never spoke of the incident, the disappearance, or referred to it overtly any time in her life, and not in her autobiography. It was found out later, as these things come to the surface, that yes, she and her husband had a terrible row, as they name a argument in England, in December, early December, and she flipped out. But what's really intriguing, there's many things that are intriguing, but one intriguing thing is that she flipped out, disappeared December 3rd, crashes the car. The next day, it is revealed later that she'd actually traveled back to London and gone to one of the major stores, Harrods, to see their Christmas display. Really enjoyed the Christmas display, so it was understood, and somehow made her way north to Harrogate, to this fancy hotel. What is she in a fugue state? You really truly think she's in a fugue state, Darcy, that she's working here on a subliminal level perhaps, and not really conscious of what's happening, but able to function and get herself to these locations, and then get herself to this hotel and know enough to use another name, or actually thought that Neal was her name? What do you think's going on here? Is there true amnesia going on, or is there a little bit of both?
A little, I'm going to say she's definitely in a fugue state. She probably adapted the Neal name because that is who her husband told her he loved.
Right.
Not her, but this person. So she wanted to become this person. So just the fact that she went from one place to see the Christmas decoration and on, my guess is she's walking like on automatic pilot.
Okay, that's neat. Yeah, I like the idea you said that she uses the Neal name because she wants to be Neal, because she wants her husband to love her.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned using the Neal name as a clue for those of us trying to find Agatha. We might stumble upon the Neal name if we knew that Archibald was having an affair with Nancy Neal.
And he's the one who found her.
A fellow in the hotel recognized her. Archie came to get her. Yes.
I know, but the idea here is that we can see the person. It's like looking at a cover and saying, oh, there's the author. But the thing is that that's part what she wanted, was her husband to find her, to feel like she still counted.
That he cared for her.
Yeah.
And what do you think, just out of curiosity, what do you think Archie thought when he heard his wife had registered under the mistress's name?
I don't think he would be very happy about it. Okay. And I think he would think she's doing it all. The whole thing is deliberate.
Okay, so
Again, to point at her husband.
So you think he thinks it's a revenge event designed to embarrass her husband, show him up as a cheat.
And here, the other thing is, has she ever been to this hotel, or were they at this hotel?
Yeah, that's a question I don't have an answer for, but I did ponder it myself, but I couldn't find out whether she'd been there before. Yeah, or like one of their locations, as you're thinking.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't think it was to create publicity for her books?
No, I don't think she needed the pub. And if it was, why not keep bringing it to the surface? Bring it in the book. If this was something she wanted people to note, to remember, I personally, I would have talked about it. I would have brought it forward so people could, it was always in your face.
And she never did. No. Okay, fair enough. Let's look at, I think, I'm just trying to figure out how much of this is deliberate, how much of this is, as you say, amnesia, a fugue state. We'll obviously never know. It's really interesting to think that someone can function in society, go to Harrods and see the display, and obviously take a tram or take a subway or take a train. And so you're able to function, but you don't necessarily know who you are.
Oh, if you haven't ever experienced it, trust me, it can happen. I hate that, the part about saying trust me, but from firsthand experience, I have seen it happen.
Somebody in a fugue state idea that they function, but they don't know who they are?
That's right. They function. They're someone totally different. They don't know who they are. They're just going through the motions.
Okay. Oh, that's neat. I've not known anybody who's done that. So it's quite obviously a rare but outstandingly strange event. She must have, based on, I think, the love she had for her daughter, as she said, similar to the love she had for her mother, this must have been a horrendous tearing of her psyche to learn that her husband was cheating on her and wanted a divorce, and that she'd lost the rock of her protective mother and support in her mother. So I can see how that all leads to, if one believes in fugue states, and they do exist, that all leads to a fugue state. It's just so fascinating to think that she would take on the name of Neil. That part, when you said that, I was thinking she was doing that deliberately to hurt the husband. But in fact, I like your comment about, no, she was trying to be Neil because she still loved her husband. She still wanted to be with Archibald Christie, and he had moved on.
Yeah, he moved on a long time ago. But the thing is that, it was necessary for her to take the name so that she could be loved.
Isn't that, gosh, the path of love is so difficult. The aftermath of this 11-day gap in her life, when Archie arrives, he takes her, big savior, Agatha Christie's found. The public's a bit puzzled, wondering really what did happen here. And they're a bit ticked off with the amount of money that was spent on searching for her. But I think in the end, most people legitimately felt that she had a psychological breakdown of some sort, so that she wasn't abusing the system in any way. Agatha is brought back to her sister's home. Her sister happens to have a lot of money. The big house. She stays there for quite some time with her daughter. They head off to the Canary Islands, she and her daughter, for a while to convalesce. She comes back the next year, divorces Archibald Christie. Within a week, he marries Nancy Neal. They have seemingly a fine life without Agatha. And the only comment Agatha makes of this tumultuous period in the autobiography, she says, so after illness came sorrow, despair, and heartbreak. There is no need to dwell on it. A typical stiff upper lip, don't you think, with the old avoidant?
Absolutely.
She's not going to ever talk about it.
And how can you talk about something you don't know what happened?
That's a point where we have to believe she didn't know what happened. And we also have to believe, as you said, she wasn't doing it deliberately to get publicity. Otherwise, she would have carried it on.
Yeah.
She shut it down. She never pushed it forward to the light. So that is the storyline of her disappearing. What's really amazing about this whole business is, for years later, she continues to pen these amazing novels. She keeps to an incredibly strict regime of coming up with a extraordinarily bestseller every year. But this period was only a very brief period, a little blip in her life, Darcy. And as all of us romantics, we can take heart because a couple of years later, Agatha met a fellow named Max Mallowan, an archaeologist. She met him while visiting an historical dig in Iraq. So that's a link to your Asian choice. It wasn't Iraqi, but definitely was the East idea. And interestingly, he was 13 years her junior, but they hit it off big time. And they married in 1930 and remained a happy, successful, and productive couple until Agatha passed away at age 85 in 1976. So I'd like you to look at, I'm just going to skip through. Photo number 11 was showing us where Harrogate is, quite far north. We didn't need to go there.
Yeah.
Photo number 12, if you would look at, it's Agatha and Max, a little bit later in life, looking to me like a very contented, loving couple. What do you think?
Absolutely. That's the kind of energy where they're sharing things. They're linked. So yeah, this is a really good energy.
Okay, that's nice to hear. And what is Max's aura like?
It blends nicely with hers. It touches each other. And I would say that he's got a lot of blue heart energy around him.
Blue heart. Blue means heart.
Yeah.
Oh, and has she still got the white, mysterious stuff?
And they're just linking in together to each other.
Oh, that's lovely. Oh, neat. Certainly just from this black and white pic of the two of them looking, it looks, I guess, photographs perhaps from an archaeological dig or something. They're both focusing on the photographs, but they're so seemingly content beside one
each other.
Even I can understand I don't see any energy, but I can have a sense of a feel of comfort and love between them, which is just wonderful to know that she was loved in the end, better than she was ever loved by Archie. And
absolutely.
Relationship. That's cool. I'm going to give you their last shot, which is a famous, you've seen it a million times, the headshot of Agatha Christie as the writer, 1958 roughly, when she was 68.
She looks fantastic for 68 at that time frame.
Do you think she still looks a little mysterious there with the old eyes? To me, reserved and very intelligent. What do you make out of that photograph?
Yeah, again, and strange, here again, I can pick up that masculine energy. Okay. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would say, and something about, I know she doesn't have her quirk, like when someone's hiding something and they're, okay, my lips do it all the time, where one side goes up. She doesn't have that, but it makes me feel like there's so much more she needs to say in life.
She lived still quite a lot longer from there because she dies in 76 and this is 58. So 18 years later, she lived another 18 years and she put out probably at least twice that many books in that time frame, knowing her.
Yeah.
And stories. Yeah. Wow. That's great. Thanks that's our investigation into the Queen of Crime's greatest mystery, Darcy. Thanks. You were remarkable today, as always. Fairly quickly, you nailed Agatha, and I was just so taken aback. I thought, I'll just not buy into that. You chose two writers, and one of them happened to be Agatha Christie, and you saw Murder on the Orient Express last night. The coincidence is just a bit much for me, so I held back on that. But of course, you knew who we were going to talk about. The two things that really struck me from your insight today, number one, that you knew that she was going to be divorced from him, that he had a mistress, that you could feel that you also knew that she disappeared, like she had gone somewhere and you couldn't find her. But the biggest thing, again, just the simplest thing, how in the world did you know that she used Nancy Neal's last name as her name at the hotel? That's just a tiny bit of truth that you couldn't possibly be aware of in any way other than how you come up with things through your insight and your spirit guides. I don't know how you could possibly know that. So that's astounding. Well done.
It's because they spelt something in my head and it's like, I don't understand that. That's, you're looking through the eye of the needle.
Yes.
And that's actually what they showed me. The needle. And it's okay. What's the needle got to do with this? And that's why I use that sound.
Because Neil is actually, especially, it's spelt with two E's and an L-E. So it's an unusual spelling, more like needle than a typical Neil, which would be N-E-I-L.
Yeah.
So this is N-E-E-L-E. So yeah, that's just amazing that you would have the needle giving you the scent of the word and the sound of the word for Neil. But to know that's the word, the name of the mistress is one thing. Okay, that's a huge thing. But to know that Agatha used it as her name is just out of my mind-blowing comment. Thank you.
I have to say that I'm trying to look back in my memory banks to see if there was ever something I've read that would have made me think she'd use the needle. I'm determined to call it needle.
The Neil.
And or whether or not one of my clientels did something like that, because you know what, I do that to get back and forth, to make them aware. I wouldn't go in a frugal state, I just do it, but to make them aware that I'm pissed off because you have the audacity to have this person, I'd probably use their name.
Wow, I don't even know if I even think of that, but it's a good one. I have to admit, it's a good little bit of a dig, as well as it's a two-edged sword, right? It's a dig, but at the same time, you want to be that person because you want to be loved by that individual who's leaving you. It's a smack in the face as well as a covering so that you can pretend I'm that person. I'm just that person. Why wouldn't you stay with me?
You know, and that's just it. I can think of movies that probably had done that.
Probably, yes. And I'm sure there's all your life's history comes into your insights, presumably. And who knows what you actually can draw from. But to me, I still say it's a heck of a lot more insightful than I would ever be. So this is why you are the psychic and I am the storyteller.
And here's the other thing, the picture behind you, you have nails in it, right?
I do. Yes, it's one of my paintings. It's a Steve.
Yes, and so those nails kept standing out through this entire conversation.
Oh, you're kidding. I didn't know that. I have to take a shot and put that in because I just thought this is a nice background to try and use for our visual Zoom today.
It is a very good background. And like I said, it really struck me that the nails are sticking out. So the end for me is going to be important.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's nice.
It's
okay.
It's as an example, it's like when I pull names out of the ether to give to someone, and like the Fred, okay, and the F sound, Fred, Frank, Philip, Fran, Fisher. Okay, so I'll have that sound, and sometimes I'll say all those names, but you might actually recognize a name. And I'm just not saying it. So that's how the N was doing it for me. And then when they did the eye of the needle, I just went with the needle.
So you weren't thrown by my name starting with N at all? The Nicola didn't come into it at all?
No, your name didn't come into it at all.
Oh, neat. Okay. I never thought that painting would have anything to do with it. It's amazing how you seem to use everything that's available to you to give you clues.
Absolutely. It's just like I have been known to read for people, look at the ceiling and see in the stucco an actual word.
Far out.
So
I'd like to see that.
Let me spray paint it so you can see it, because you won't see it the same way I do.
I know that for a fact. Thanks for our discussion today, Darcy. That's fascinating. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did. It was fun.
Thank you for listening to Seeing Dead People, where goosebumps are guaranteed. We would love to hear from you with questions for Darcy about her psychic process or suggestions for other mystifying situations you would like us to investigate. Please shoot us an email to info@radiosidney.ca with Seeing Dead People in the subject line. New episodes air on our website, radiosidney.ca, on the first Saturday of every month. Episodes repeat Saturday nights at 8 p.m. and Sunday mornings at 10 a.m., both Pacific time. All episodes are available as downloadable podcasts at our website or on our YouTube channel, Nicola Furlong Mysteries. I'm Dorian Mortis, weirdly keen on seeing dead people, This has been a presentation of Radio Sydney.